So just to clarify, about half an hour ago, I tried to log into the webinar platform, only to discover, much to my chagrin, that it wouldn't let me in. Not in any way, shape, or form, nor Ben. But you guys, there's only about 7 of you here now. Ben, I'm really sorry about this. My expectation is that, you know, people probably went to the webinar room and gave up.
You and I could natter between each other, you know, till the cows come home. So whether people are here to watch that or not is,
you look very familiar in that room. It's like deja vu. I seem to remember doing this about 8 hours ago or something.
It wasn't.
This is Ben, by the way. This is Ben Dell. Well, we've got 10 people with us right now. So, you know, low on numbers, platform crisis. But there you go. Let's roll with the punches. Let's press on. Yeah,
that's what it's all about. It's live at the end of the day.
Yes, indeed. So very, very quick. I had planned to, you know, collect my thoughts and things, but that's not going to happen. I'm just going to make it up as I go along. Ben, first thing, are you able to, do you have the capability with what I've set you up for to share your screen and all that? Is that button available to you?
Okay, seems to be,
great. Yep, good. Okay, so let's just get stuck right into it. This is Ben Dell. Ben Dell was on the WP Builds podcast. Oh, I don't know, maybe let's say 7-8 months ago or something, because he was talking about his missing letter platform, which I actually use habitually to post out content to Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. After the idea of missing letter, which I know is you're not here for, but it's to sort of social posting over a prolonged period of time. But in that webinar that we did about that, right at the end, he started talking about this new thing that he built, which was called HeySummit. You may not remember talking about this, Ben, but I do. And because he put on a gigantic summit with 100 attendees, and I think no sooner had you begun
100 speakers. Let's just
100 speakers. Sorry,
a few more attendees than that.
Yeah. No sooner had he started to sort of make the summit than he realized, actually, I need a way of making this easy for me. So he built, in short shrift, HeySummit, which is a platform available to you at the moment via a pretty striking deal on AppSumo. What I'm going to do, I tried to be prepared. I'm not as prepared as I should have been, but I have at least got this thing here made in advance. There you go. So that's basically the deal. The 95% off thing I've kind of taken from AppSumo. But Ben's going to show you what HeySummit can do, what it's capable of. I've stacked it to the max. I think 5 is the max. So I've done that. Yeah. But then there's an ancillary. You know how it is in AppSumo that like the founders get like beaten until they give away everything. Well, Ben has really responded to that public beating. Actually, you didn't get publicly beaten. You were just
I'll show you the bruises later.
Yeah. And he's got this ancillary offer, which appends to it should you jump on the AppSumo deal. So hopefully Ben will talk about that. But not here to talk about me, not here to listen to me. Just a couple of things. If the webinar platform balks on you, if you get booted, just click refresh. Don't alter the URL in any way. Just hit the refresh button and you should hop right back in. The other thing to say is if you've got a question, if you look towards the top of the bar which you're adding the chat in, there's a button marked chat and there's a button marked Q&A. Put your questions in the Q&A bit rather than trying to add them into the general chat, because I'll probably miss them. So without further ado, Ben, I think I've introduced you, but feel free to take the floor, share your screen, add anything I missed, and show us HeySummit and what it can do.
Cool. Well, thanks, Nathan. Yeah. It's genuinely always a pleasure. You and I, as I said, we could just chat away for hours, I'm sure. Yes. So I'd do this even if there was no one watching. So I suppose there's a bit of extra pressure. I've got to try and deliver some values. So, but look, I recognise some names already, which is fantastic. Some existing HeySummit customers, a couple of people who were watching a webinar I was doing yesterday. So you're obviously a glutton for punishment. I don't know, how much of this will be new, but I hope it's at least different and interesting. So
well,
yeah,
I'm going to interrupt. This will be my last interruption. I think you do have a little bit more time on this one. So if there are bits that you felt yesterday,
cool. Okay.
If you missed, Ben did a webinar yesterday, and he had a smaller section than this. So feel free to dive in, and I'll interrupt you should a question arise which really needs addressing.
Okay. Well, I think just observing, having been through the AppSumo deal or going through it and webinars like the one I was doing yesterday, with a product like this, there are invariably going to be a ton of questions that people will have, because it's very specific about their particular setup, the way their business functions, whether certain things work in their country, all these different things. So what maybe the thing to do here is for me to give you a very, very brief background about why we built it and what it does, just in case people don't sort of fully get that. I'll give you a quick sort of demo, which will be similar-ish to yesterday's, which will just show you the highlights essentially. And then we can just sort of park the rest for fluid conversation as the questions arise, because that's what I found is where the real sort of gold dust comes out, because I'm answering specific questions to concerns or just questions that people have. So that might be the way to do it. Okay. Cool. So yeah, as Nathan mentioned, we were speaking, I think it was about 8 months ago or so. And I'd like to say I had hair back then, because it's been incredibly busy since then. We set out last year, almost this time last year, to run a conference for ourselves through Missing Letter, a company I run. And I thought, in my own sort of infinite wisdom, that I'm not going to do this if it's going to be the same as a typical sort of summit out there. I have to do something just that little bit different. I like to have a challenge. In fact, I like to have a challenge and then a date. And for me, that's the sort of thing that fuels me. So I decided that it would have to be a 100-strong speaker summit, and that I would put it on in about 6 weeks, because I hate making a decision and then going, oh, well, that's something I'll do in 6 months. It just feels too far away, and there'll be other things I'll need to do then. So get it done as quickly as possible is kind of my mantra. So that's what I did. I set out to put together this 100-strong, 100-speaker-strong summit. But what I quickly realized was that actually it's quite a complex beast to think about delivering a summit, or even just a small collection of talks. We're not talking anymore about a traditional big marker or Zoom type of setup where you have a single webinar and you have a basic landing page to have them register for it, and then the rest is all handled by you. Where you would, maybe do the preparation, you would do the graphics, all these things that don't really matter too much when you're doing just a single or maybe 2 webinars. But when you start doing a hell of a lot more, certainly at the 100-speaker level, these become that much more of a hindrance. And so I started doing some research and looked online, and there were blog posts that were thousands and thousands of words long, describing all the various things you'd have to put together, the companies you'd have to pay to do this, the developers that would have to build this custom integration, the designers that would have to brand it for you. And it just felt agonizing that here I was, with what I thought was a great idea to put on a conference. I thought, if I'm lucky, I can get 100 people to speak at it. I'm pretty sure if I can get 100 people to speak at it, I can find people who would want to listen to those people talk. And yet here I was with no way to actually deliver that content in a way that for me felt of a high enough quality that would position our business in a way that was consistent with our brand. And that's really important, because as with anything in life, there are many, many ways to skin a cat. You can go to Bob down the road who's kind of just started developing, and he might do it for 50 quid and build something for you through WordPress, but you're not going to be able to put your brand in a sort of in a way that truly represents your ethos and the quality that hopefully you stand for. So it was very, very clear to me very early on that there was nothing literally out there that would do what I wanted it to do. And so we decided to build something, and fast forward to today, so sort of 10 months later, we have a pretty incredible platform called HeySummit that basically from within a few clicks, you can put together a summit yourself, and right through from the management, the setup, the configuration, engaging with the attendees and marketing to them, the actual running of the summit when it's running, and then the after sort of reporting and ROI and all that sort of stuff as well. We do things like viral loops to encourage people to sort of share it socially. We have giveaways and prizes, integrated feedback and reporting. We tell you which speakers have referred the most traffic. You have affiliate built in as well. You can even charge for your ticket. So there's a huge amount that you can do. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. So that's where we are today. And to kind of celebrate sort of version 1, if you will, of HeySummit, we decided to do a deal with AppSumo. I've got Marilyn there, so who might remember a conversation that we had before. God, I can't remember when it was now. It would probably would have been November last year, and I think she specifically asked me, "Would you ever go for this on AppSumo?" Knowing that I'd done an AppSumo deal with Missing Letter before, and I categorically said, "No, we're gonna focus on just building it out and do it more organically." But as we've evolved and grown the product, it became clear that actually there's a bigger opportunity here, and there's something really special about those in the AppSumo community. They really help drive that feedback and the presence of mind that I find really, really powerful. So that's where we are today. We're on AppSumo. You can pick it up for $59, single one-off cost. That's it. We usually charge our biggest plan at $249 a month, and our middle tier plan, which is the one you get through AppSumo, at $99 a month. So even after 1 month, you're kind of cash positive. Cool. So let me show you quickly what it's all about. But before I do, let me just, one thing that's really interesting here is that jargon, no matter how many times you do something like this, run a business or talk to people in forums like this, you trip up on this idea, you trip up on jargon too easily, I find. And I'm just very, very comfortable now with the term summit. But actually, I understand that to a lot of people, summits are a new thing, or perhaps confused with just a webinar, and maybe people don't necessarily know what the difference between a summit and a webinar is. And so maybe just worth just sort of highlighting in a very, very basic way. The best way to think of a summit is to just think of an offline conference that runs normally for a number of days, and this is just an online version of that. So it's typically something that will span 1 or more days, and that will have 1 or more talks/speakers presenting content within that. A typical summit will be anywhere between 3 days and 5 days, is pretty much the sweet spot. And you might have 3 or 4, perhaps a few more speakers on a given day. Obviously, in our case, when we did the 100 speaker conference, we did it over 2 weeks. And because there were so many speakers, we had to double up, so run in parallel pretty much all the time. We had 2 talks going on at any given time. So we had myself and a team member hosting them. We did that through Zoom. Every single one of those was live, just because I, again, glutton for punishment, but also I wanted to really experience what it meant to put on a summit. And that for me meant delivering it with authenticity and integrity, and doing it live was a really important ingredient there. And I learned a lot in doing that. But that's not what a summit has to be. You can pre-record, and you can have a combination of the two. You can have some of your talks live and some pre-recorded. And you can literally mix and match. So, you might have a speaker that you really want to speak at your summit, but they might be on holiday. In fact, we had one person, so I'll tell a slight lie before, we had 99, I think, of our speakers doing it live. One of them did it pre-recorded because they double booked. They were on their honeymoon. So I thought I'd let them off and one pre-recorded. But yeah, you've got full control to do that within HeySummit. And so that's basically, long and short, that's what a summit is. And so hopefully you can see, when you start thinking of it in those terms, it is somewhat different from a single webinar. You need to be doing a lot more things with those. So let me
whilst you share your screen, it's hard enough putting one on. It really is. There's a load of moving parts just getting this webinar live. And that's why I think your product is good. I mean, even if you don't go for the major heights of having 100 speakers, even it'll pay for itself if you have like 4. It's just going to save you that much time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the goal here, the vision for HeySummit is that, I used the term before, in a number of clicks. That is really why we exist. It's supposed to be to the point where you can literally sign up and set up, give your event a title, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to call the summit. add your speakers, give them titles of talk, and choose the dates, obviously. And then the rest is farmed off to your speakers so they can add their bios, their profile photos, and everything else. So that's kind of offloaded from yourself. And everything else is there. We auto create the big marker webinars, so you don't, as you were just talking there, you don't need to do that manually yourself. All you need to do is just let people know that where they can go to register, and then once they're there are viral loops to maximize the chances that they'll share it elsewhere.
There's no underestimating the avoidance of the email tennis. That's a horrible loop to be in.
Yes,
trying to organize. Purgatory.
Okay, cool. Let me know if you can see my screen.
We can't see your screen. I can't. Can anybody else see Ben's screen? Let me know. I don't know what the... Oh, it's coming. There we go. I can't see it yet, but it's... yeah, here it comes. Here it comes. Here it comes. It says loading. I can see Demo Summit. There we go.
Perfect. Okay, right. Okay, so let me just refresh that. So there are two main parts to this Summit platform. The front end, so the bit that your general public and your audience, your attendees will interact with. And then you've got the back end, which is what you will look at, the speakers will access, or a certain portion of it, and any team members that you invite as well. So let's just have a quick look around. This is a demo event, so it obviously has fictitious names. It's actually all auto-generated, so you will, as I mentioned yesterday in the webinar, you may get male faces with female names, or don't be too alarmed. It's all completely intentional, but completely random at the same time. It keeps me, it tickles me when I see it, so keeps me energized. Okay, so the usual things, let's just remember a summit is a collection of talks, and so that's what, for the large part, you're going to want your raw visitor, the person that's just landed there, to want to interact with, to explore. You want them to discover the content that is going to be impactful for them. So they can either look at some featured talks that you have going on here, they can read a bit more about what's going on, which you can obviously fully edit, or they can literally go through the speakers and make sure, just double check who's actually talking and what they're talking about, where they're from. We can see that this guy, Freddie, has a giveaway, which will be interesting, so we might look at that in a minute. We can even drill down based on the categories, so you can set these up, choose the icons, and it's just a nice way of sort of grouping your content together, which is less necessary or less needed if you have just a small number of talks going on. But if you go beyond 10, you're going to want to start grouping these out a little bit to really help people discover the content that's important to them. So let's just jump into this Freddie guy. We can see a bit more about him, where he's based, links out to his company. So the speakers can add their social URLs and all that sort of stuff. They can add their own offers. So it's a nice little way to incentivize your speakers. There's actually a common question here is, and this is something that shocked me when I put together the 100 speaker strong summit. And I'm emphasizing the 100 because I'm going to give a percentage in a minute that is also that number. And I thought before I put it together that we would have to pay these speakers to talk at our event. And we didn't have a huge budget to spend at the time, and I was just sort of a bit wary, but I went out there and reached out to people anyway. And out of those 100 speakers, 100%, there's the number, literally said yes. And not a single one of them asked me whether they were expecting to be paid or not. Now, we didn't actually have the budget to spend on them, so it would have been a case of moving on to the next. But it was really telling that what's kind of unique about summits, comparing them to sort of offline events, is that you don't have the transport and the the overnight stays and the sort of the physical element that will often require you to sort of have to pay for your speakers to attend. It's a bit more prestigious in a sort of a real life sort of sense. Here, this is a genuine marketing opportunity for all parties concerned, and something that we take very, very seriously through the HeySummit platform. So we really want to help not just put your speakers in a good light, but make it really a no-brainer for them to say yes, because you're offering them all these opportunities to have people understand what they do and share their information and put offers in front of those that attend their talks and all those sorts of things. So yeah, it's something that's really, really important. And if you're worried about setting up a summit because you just assume that either it's too complex or that speakers just won't, you can't afford to pay for speakers, pretty much, I think you should be, certainly on the speaker front, I think you should be okay.
Just, I'm going to interrupt you for a moment there, if that's all right. Back at the list that you had of all the speakers, first question I've got is, do we have the capability to organize those arbitrarily? So let's say, for example, that we had a keynote that was, some notorious person. Could we put them to the top, or is that just randomly organized?
It's somewhere in the middle. So what we actually have is, when you set up a speaker, you can specify whether they are a VIP or a VIP B. So a second class of VIP, if you will, and that then dictates the ordering here, because what you might want to do is say, we've got these 5 that are VIPs, and so we want them to be at the top. But then there are some other ones that are definitely known people, but not quite as prominent, and so we'll classify them as B VIPs, and I probably need to come up with a better name for that. And then everyone else goes below there. And what we will do within those 3 groupings, we will randomize within that, and that's quite healthy, because you want, it's like Google search engine results. You don't want, people will click or see certainly the first couple. And so by randomizing them within those clusters can be quite a good way of just keeping the overall attendee counts on a speaker by speaker basis nice and mixed up, which is quite good.
So there's sort of 3 categories. And my other question was, my understanding is that the speakers themselves can populate that data. So in your case, you don't have to write 100 bios. They do it themselves, right?
Yeah, so totally optional. So you don't have to invite them into the platform. You might not want to. And certainly there will be categories of speakers, at the enterprise level and sort of the global circuit, who just don't want to do that. And fine, you might invite them via their PA's address, and that's perfectly fine. But there will be some that you will want to do that VIP sort of experience and sort of do it for them. But that's totally up to you. You can invite them, and then they can take full control over that.
Okay, thank you. Carry on. Sorry about that.
Okay. No. I'm happy to have interruptions. I think, generally speaking, you're probably going to come up with some good questions. And if you're thinking about them, I'm sure other people will be too. So I'm going to create a silly address here, obviously, and just have a quick look and show you what it looks like to register as an attendee. So a nice little form here, pop that in there, confirm they accept the terms and conditions, and we're fully GDPR compliant and everything else. Click next. And now this is where the discovery comes into play, because particularly if you're running a summit with 10 or more talks, you want them to choose, or invariably you want them to choose the talks that they care about. And so we can choose, the categories that I'm interested in, and then that will then build a list of suggested talks, and then I can either select them individually or select them all, and click next. And that's it. I'm now booked into the talk. I've chosen the talks that I want and I care about. I will be sent an email confirming that, with a link to save it into my calendar and everything else. But crucially, they're now in the system. And we just have this final page where we incentivize them to share it socially, which is a great way for you as the organizer to really get that word out there. If you imagine you have one attendee signing up, sharing it with 10 people, and each of those 10 share it with another 10. It's never quite like that, but you get the principle. It can be a really, really powerful way of maximizing your potential there. And we do that by offering giveaways to those that have signed up, specific to the talks that they've signed up to. So each attendee will get a slightly different selection of giveaways, and they are entered into that draw automatically by sharing on one of these social networks. So a really nice little way of doing that. And you can decide as the organizer whether you want to have a giveaway per talk, or whether you want just a single giveaway at the event level. So just one that you're going to give away perhaps at the end of the talk. And that is all handled automatically. We generate the winner, and then we let them know. We CC the speaker in that email so that they can actually dispense the prize. Obviously it's not, it's going to be a waste of your time to sort of get in the way and be a middleman there. But yeah, so that's all handled really, really nicely. That nice. Is the front. Oh, well, I suppose I should probably show you the most important part, which is the talk itself. So we have the up next, or the schedule, which tells us what is coming up next. And we can click into that in a couple of days. And I can click in there, just view the talk. So we've seen a bit of this before, similar. We can see when it's taking place. But I can also look at because remember, when the summit starts, you're going to have a combination of talks that have not yet started, as well as talks that have already taken place. So we have the replays section, which is where the replays that you add start getting populated. And so we can see here we have one from the 20th of April. We can watch the replay. We can vote for it as well, which is a nice little powerful way of sharing things. And here we have. So this is the talk page that kind of transforms automatically into a YouTube style page where we have the video, just a little demo video, and the description. And we have an opportunity for commenting and a discussion to be really had there. And what's really neat, if I just go back to this page here, about the upvoting that we offer, is that, remember, what we're trying to do is maximize the chances that your attendees will watch content, because that's good for you, that's good for the speakers, and if you put the right content in front of the attendee, it's good for them. But we don't want to do it in a way where we just give them an arbitrary list of, here, watch all 20 of these. Certainly if you're doing a big conference, they're not going to have the time to do all of that. And so we have this voting control here, which on the one side gives you data, so it helps you understand which ones were the genuinely most popular talks. That might help you for the next summit that you do in a few months' time or next year. But it's also really powerful for us to recommend content to your attendees. Whilst the summit is running, each morning we will send them what we call the daily digest email. And that has two purposes. One, to let them know about the talks that they are booked into for that day. And it might be that they don't have any booked in, that's fine, and we'll let them know that they don't. But secondly, to let them know what the top 3 voted for talks were from the previous day. Nice. And those are the top 3 voted for, irrespective of whether they were booked into them or not. So this becomes a really neat way, a non-obtrusive, doesn't get in their way. What word am I looking for? Obtrusive?
Unobtrusive.
That is right. Okay. I doubted myself there. And it just lets them know, hey, these are the top 3 that other people thought were really interesting. You might want to check them out. So we're just, in a really nice organic way, just letting them know about what's going on there. And it, of course, gives your speakers a second opportunity to get in front of the extra crowd. Because it's worth noting that particularly, we see it in the webinar space as much as the summit space, but it's very important to understand that it's not all about the live content. It is just as much, if not more, about the replays, the content afterwards, as much it is about anything else. I forget the exact stats, but I think when we did the conference last year ourselves, it was something around 30% would actually watch it live, and we had the vast majority watching it on the replays.
Yeah,
exactly, and that's fine. That's just the way it is. That's just the digital world that we live in. It's check in, check out. You can turn up when you want and just sort of consume it as you need it, and that's good. And that leads me on to one of the other benefits and why we built HeySummit, in addition to everything else I've spoken about, and that's for the reason of ongoing marketing funnels and just creating an ongoing marketing strategy. Because if you think about it, through a summit that you run over a week period, let's say you have 20 speakers, you now have 20 highly focused, highly polished, and highly engaging, because it's video, pieces of content with descriptions, so they're SEO ready, and if you write the descriptions well enough and the title, they're going to be nicely specific to whatever it is they're talking about. And too often in the past, I've seen people put together summits where they kind of close it off straight away and don't let people see it afterwards. But actually, one way you can get some real extra marketing juice from this is to keep them open. So if I just show you the uppercase conference that we did at Missing Letter, our content, all 100 talks are there. So you can see the speakers that we had speaking there, or some of them, our replays are there, and they are literally available to watch. And we get a healthy amount of inbound traffic as a result of this. Our speakers are continuing to share them. People who just stumble upon it will share it through the social feeds here. So it's a really, really neat way to again, show yourselves as an authority in the space, and at the same time, build traffic in the longer term. But that being said, you need to decide as a business how you want your summit to behave once you've delivered it. And that's because there's a couple of things you can do here. You can decide to keep it available, but make it chargeable. So you can, within the management area, and I'll show you this in a few moments, you can set it up so that you have pricing plans. Or, you might often have seen them being referred to as all access passes, VIP passes, or whatever you might want to call them. And this gives you the ability to bundle talks together and sell them for a certain price. Now, there's different ways of slicing and dicing this. There's a lot of customization there already. You can, for example, have talks for free or available for free for the first 2 days whilst the conference is running, and then maybe have it go through a paywall after that. Or you can have it, start off with a $10 a month, or sorry, $10 fixed price. There's no monthly at the moment. and then maybe a week later it doubles in price. So you can change your pricing scale as you go through. All these different things. You need to decide. You need to decide what's best for you and your business, and importantly also your industry. You will have certain industries that would just never pay for content like this. So make that judgment call. But the reason I was mentioning was that was because obviously in the case of Missing Letter, we decided from the beginning that this wasn't going to be a paid for sort of play. This was going to be an exposure thing. It was going to be about branding. It was going to be about delivering value to our audience and driving that traffic in the long term. So we have no paywalls here at all, and we've done that intentionally. But you can do it with paywalls, and somewhere in the middle, you can also say, look, we don't have a paywall, but we do require you to register to watch the content, even after the fact. So you can imagine this talk that took place in September last year. We could very easily actually say, look, actually, if you want to watch this, you need to register. And there's a button you can tick in the system to do that. And so you're still making it available for free, but it now not only becomes a traffic source, but it becomes a lead generation source as well. So lots of different ways of slicing and dicing.
If you put that content behind a paywall, is there any sort of SEO that leaks out? So does some of the text, for example, get exposed to the public internet, or is it all hidden behind a paywall? I was just thinking about discoverability in SERPs,
Yeah, that's a good question. The current setup is that, yes, it will all be available to the SEO, apart from the video, of course. We don't even render the video at all, so you can't do any hacking with CSS or anything. But you do actually, I mean, I haven't got an example to show you offhand, but you would go to a page like this and it would have an overlay on the entire page. You can't click out of it, and it would force you to register or pay. But the description and the title and the speaker's name, that is all there. So that continues to be indexed by the search engines, because you still want to drive the traffic there in the first place.
Yeah. Shall we stop? I've got a few questions quickly.
Sure, yeah.
Now, just a couple of things. If you're posing a question, I know that all these webinar platforms are different, but right at the top there's a chat box which is supposedly just for sort of general chit chat, and then there's a Q&A one. If you could put your questions in there. Don't worry if you haven't; it's not a big deal. I'll work it out. But we have got one in there. Can you? Professor Murray, Prof Murray says, how do you customize emails? I'm going to rephrase that to, can you customize emails?
Okay, let's jump into the dashboard and just have a quick glimpse of what's going on here. I'll show you that in a second. That looks nice. Everyone loves a good graph.
That is many a graph. That's stupendous graphing.
Your control center. But let's just show you the emails thing. So these are the emails that we send out. We currently have a system whereby we have predefined emails that we found to work pretty well in the past with various different customers. And so we pre-build those for you by default. So they are safe to trust, that you don't need to edit them if you don't want to. There's nothing specific that's specific to an industry or anything else. It's all auto-generated based on your content and everything else. But if you do want to edit them, you can just view them here. And let's have a look at your starting now. So let's do the your in. So this is the one you get when you first register. So this is to the attendee. We can click customize, and it just builds that out for me, and then it pops it into this preview screen here. So I can, do the usual things, make it bold, italic, do the usual sort of editing. We keep it, nice, fairly straightforward. We don't want to give you too many ways to sort of make this look ugly, but you can sort of, put your own content in there and do whatever you want to do. There are certain templates, and we've got mail merging and all sorts of other fields, so we'll pop those in for you. Generally speaking, just be careful with mail merge fields, as always. If you've changed those, then there is always the send test button, which will just literally send an email to yourself, whoever is logged in at the time. It's just a nice way of just making sure that it works well. There are sections that are, for obvious reasons, not editable. So when you hover over it, it goes big alarm, big red border. That tells you that you can't actually edit this bit, because this is specific to the there are certain pieces of information, like this is a great example where we have to include certain things like the button to so this is the reminder email, I think, to the attendee. So here we have instructions for the talk, how to enter Zoom or whatever the provider is that you're using. So there are certain ones that you can't edit for those reasons, but the majority of them you can in many areas. So I hope that helps. In the future, we will give you the option of adding additional emails that you can, say, send this on day 3 or send this, after the attendee's done this action. There will be a lot more that you will be able to do in the future. But for today, you've got a fixed set, if you will, but you can turn them off if you don't want them. So if you a very good example would be for the attendees, we send 1 hour before and then also 10 minutes before. You might decide, particularly if you have many talks going on in one day, that the 10-minute one is just not necessary because people are going to get them every half an hour, essentially. So you can turn those off if you need to.
Okay. I'll just raise this as you just tell me, Ben, if you want to answer this later or not. There's a question about monetization. Are you going to come on to that? In which case,
yes,
I'll leave
I will. Yeah.
Okay. And there's another one about, was it gone? About a connection with Big Marker, the current platform that we're on. Yep. Is that something? We'll leave that for now as well. Okay. Yeah. Keep that. I think for now. No, I'm going to quickly promote that one to be a Q&A and have a look at it. Can you clarify? Oh, yes, I believe, Marilyn, that he's possibly answered that, because the question is, can you clarify that people can still watch the read? Or that the answer to that was, oh, no, not necessarily. Was that an archive that you just showed us?
No, this was an active event. Well,
okay,
yeah, it doesn't take registrations anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
In which case, I'll read the question verbatim, because it might be that I've misunderstood. Yeah. Can you clarify, when you archive an event, can people still watch the replay? Okay.
So this has come about because there's been a lot of questions that have arisen naturally, of course, through the AppSumo deal to just clarify what certain terms and things mean in our pricing plans and everything else. So if I just flip over to our pricing plans, obviously these are our public pricing plans. I don't want you to have to pay this. So if you do like what we do here, just remember, you've got the AppSumo deal if you grab it while it's still available, which annoyingly, if you're watching this on the replay a few months later, will not be the case. But you'll see a few things here like attendees. So obviously, like if you're on MailChimp, you are restricted to the number of, or the plan is based on, I should say, the number of people in your lists. Similar thing here, you have a total number of attendees, so those that have registered for an event as a limit based on the plan that you're on. So, and the way this works is we count an attendee against an active event. So let me just explain what that means, because I think that's what Marilyn's talking about there. If you have 3 events running, they don't have to be run in parallel. They can just be, 6 months in between, doesn't really matter. That event is deemed active whilst it is open for registrations, because that's when the most activity happens. That's when people are signing up. They are presumably buying new content. They are presumably being emailed to let them know about a talk that's happened or happening. That's how we deem an event as being active. And so if you had those 3 events and each one had 1,000 attendees at them, then you would have used up 3,000 of your attendees in that scenario. But if on one of those events you want to keep it open, so like with our Uppercase conference, where you want to make sure all the content is still available, but you don't want to gather or collect leads anymore, so you don't want people to register for it anymore, which is exactly what we're doing on the Uppercase one, then you can turn registrations off and it goes from an active to an inactive state. And that means that the 1,000 attendees that we had on this one are no longer counted towards your attendee count. And so you now have 3 available events that are open to the public, that is, but only 2 of them are active. And so only 2,000 of those count towards that quota. There's another thing you can do, which is that I think Marilyn was alluding to there. You can actually fully archive an event. Now, if you archive an event, that is also by definition not active. It's obviously been archived. So we will also not count the attendees against that. But when you archive it, you are literally turning it off from the public. So just bear in mind, if you want to keep the content, the replays available, Marilyn, you do need to keep it unarchived, so open. But you might just, if you want to save the attendees and you want to take them off the quota because you're putting another conference on and you're worried about it going over, and you don't want to pay for an add-on to boost your attendee count, then you might want to turn off the registrations on your previous event, and then that will reduce the overall attendee quota that you have against those events. I know that was a bit long, but it's been a really common question, and I hope that's answered that for you.
Yeah, I confess I was a bit mystified by that, and that's completely cleared it up. Thank you. I now get it. So we've got a whole bunch more questions, but I'm going to hand it back to you for a period of time to carry on.
Cool. Okay. So I'll try not to be too long in the tooth here, but yeah, we started off with this little report here. This is a demo account, so this is showing that 64 people in total booked in, with 4 on that day. You know, so it's not a huge traffic sort of example, but this is just an example. Hopefully you'll expect many more attendees than that. And so this is our control center. We can see kind of how are things panning out? How many attendees have registered? How many of those have shared socially? If you remember the registration process where people could virally share, how many of those have done that? And how's that changed over time? This is a bit of a haphazard pattern, I suppose, but generally speaking, you'd like to see it going up, wouldn't you? We can also see where did this traffic come from? You know, if you're big into UTM campaigns and sources, if you're doing Facebook pixels and other things, then you can track that here and look at, okay, Twitter sent 13% of the traffic. We can look at referrers as well as referring domains. So Product Hunt or LinkedIn.com sent 19%, for example. So lots of different bits of information that will help you understand the general sort of health of the summit while you're promoting it and building it up. We can go one level deeper than that, and we can look at the talks that you've set up specifically. I'll show you how to set up a talk in a minute, but this is just a really nice little way of just sort of at a glance saying, okay, we've got all these talks, and this is how many people have booked into these various talks, which is a really nice little quick indicator to let you know what's going on there. And we can also just, you know, whilst we're talking about reporting, although this is reporting that you'll look at whilst the event is running, we can also look at the feedback that we've been gathering and what people have been telling us about our event. And this is a really simple, in many ways, sort of feature that we have within HeySummit that for me is one of the most exciting, because it's actually anything that you can do within a platform like this that encourages engagement. It makes your attendees more sticky. It makes them feel as if they're part of the journey with you. And it actually gives you information that is really meaningful. And so when we set out to build this, and we actually built this at the same time, in fact, during running the Uppercase conference last year, because 2 days into the conference, I sort of realized that actually I'd really like to know a few things from our attendees. You know, do you like the content? Are you finding it helpful? Do you find the style with which we are hosting the talks to be helpful, useful, all these things? And so we built it whilst we were putting the conference together to give us that information. And so while we were doing that, it was very clear that, okay, we don't want to over-engineer this. There are many, many tools out there like SurveyMonkey and Campaign Monitor and everything else that will do clever, multi-tiered, hierarchical sort of surveys. We're not trying to do that because people will never fill that out. And yes, you might attach one to the end of your summit just as a final wrap up. But here we're looking at something that people will actually want to answer during a conference. And so you set them up as simple yes, no questions. So if we go to engagement, feedback questions, you'll see that we've got those 4 questions. If I just edit that one there, it's a simple question. You don't even give it possible answers. It will always give you a yes or a no. So you have to know, we highlight that here, you have to know to phrase the question in a way that elicits a yes or no question. That's really, really important. But if you do that, then you get some really nice little graphics there. So let me just see if this works. I'm not sure. I think I may have already answered this one, so it might not show it, but let's just have a look anyway. There we go. Okay, cool. So I don't have to do anything. Okay, so wherever you are on the site, and what's really nice about this, any email that we send out to your attendees, you know, to watch a replay or to check out an offer or whatever, we'll send them at some point into somewhere in this platform. And indeed, you might have other people linking to various pages within this platform. If we detect that they are an attendee because of the cookie and the fact that they've logged in, then we will show this to them. And so it's just out of the way, slides up, and it asks that person a simple little question. Are we doing a good job introducing and hosting the talks? Hopefully it's a yes. Close. And that is it. So, and we found that the conversion rates on that have been really, really high. It shows that you actually care as the organizer, that you actually are on the ball and everything else. So there's huge benefits that hopefully are quite obvious for those watching. But you get to then, you get to actually track and monitor and see what that actually is. A nice little progress bar. And it kind of incentivized. I found when we were doing this last year that each day, you know, I mean, this is just example data, but there were actually sort of 90 and 80%, which was nice to see. But it really drives you to do a better job the next day, and it sort of gives you that confidence that actually you're doing something half right here because people are engaging and enjoying what you're doing.
are those bars indicative of the first choice, which in that case was yes? So 31% clicked
exactly
the affirmative. Okay,
yeah. So it's 31% is not the, sorry, that's a good point. 31% is not the, this one here is not the conversion rate, how many clicked it. It's the yes or no. So in this particular example, this is demo auto-generated. When you set up when you register and set up an event within HeySummit, we will pre-populate it with demo content, so it gives you something to look at until you add your first content. And we randomly choose these numbers. But yeah, this is showing that more people said no than yes in this particular example.
Got it. Thank you.
Hopefully won't be the case. So yeah, that's basically reporting. What I would like to talk about now is a couple of things that you were talking about before, Nathan. The revenue side of things. Let's touch on that because this is a popular feature, and if it's not something that you will want to do on your first event or your next event, it may well be something you want to experiment on a future one. And in a very, very basic way, you have the ability to define membership packages or payment packages for people to acquire and purchase content. So I gave an example before where you are putting on a summit and the first 2 days, everything's free. But after that, we're going to say that it's $99 to access the content. So let's just show you what that would require you to do here. So we're going to give it a title. So what is this package called? I'm going to call it VIP Pass. Let's call it CIP Pass. You can give it a description if you want, but you don't have to. How long does this membership last? I'm going to say forever. So you could say that you have access to the content. You know, I could say a specific number of days. I could say, okay, this is available for 10 days. But no, I'm going to say, actually, let's do that example because that's exactly what we're going to do. Actually, we're going to say free for the first 2 days. And so therefore, it's going to be 0. And that is set up as free. And then we're going to do another one where it is the VIP pass. Oops. And that's going to be available forever, or it's going to last forever. So once you purchase it, you get access to the content forever. And we're going to say that's $99. But it's available from the 9th, let's say. So it doesn't kick in until that date. In fact, we're going to get rid of it too.
Got it.
And that is locked in. And now on the front end, if we go back to here, we will have added an all access passes section. And we now see the versions here. In fact, I've overcomplicated it because actually by default, in that example where I set up the VIP pass to only kick in 2 days time, by definition, everything before that would be free. So I've overcomplicated it by creating a free one that's not
understood.
Obviously, people don't need to select that. So just scrub that from your memory. You can do that. We don't need to do that. We do that. We handle all the payment for you. It's all handled. We don't take them out of the site or anything else. It's all handled by Stripe. So that's really, really nice. And you can obviously track your payments. This has no data in there, but you can track your payments, which is really nice. You can even set up coupons. So you can say, right, okay, I want a, if you're doing a partner deal, you might do a partner deal. I might do one with Nathan and say, look, I'm going to give to your community a 25% discount.
Oh, yes.
Do I want to show that to speakers? So in the dashboard for the speakers, will I make this available for them to use within the dashboard? Perfect. I'm going to leave the coupon code. I might do a vanity one and say Nathan, or I might just leave it blank and it will generate one for me here. And then I can share that with our partners. And we will then track, I think it's 60 days. We will track the cookie. So if they come back later and then they make a purchase, we track that against them, which is really, really nice. You can also go even further than that. We've got an inbuilt affiliate system. So you can actually say beyond that, we want to have a team of affiliates that will promote this for us because there's a commission for them to be making on the side of that. And by the way, you can pair this with your coupon, so you can do the two together. So we can decide the obvious things, how much percentage are we giving away? Like 10% if we're being particularly mean. Do we want that link to show up on the, just skimmed over it. Do we want the link to show up on the homepage? So if we do that, we have a join our partner program for people to see. So do you want the public to be able to register to become an affiliate, or should this be a private invite only sort of thing there, which is fine. We build an affiliate sign up form for you, which is hosted on your site. It's a nice little animation with a nice little form here. We ask them how big is their list size and their social following, nice little information for you. and then they can join, and then they're locked in as an affiliate. And then you've got the nice little track things, which is obviously empty at the moment, but you can see how many referrals have they overall brought into the system, how many of those are registered. So referrals is just raw traffic. Registrations are those that have actually registered, have provided their email address, and then sales is obviously those that have purchased. So a really, really neat way. You can jump into there and view and manage your affiliates if you need to. Really, really nice little way of just sort of.
Do you sort of escrow that money and handle the payouts to the affiliates as well, or is
yes,
that...
good question. So both in terms of the affiliates and also just revenue from the membership packages that you set up. The default, unless you're on the business plan, which is the top plan, is that we will handle all of those transactions for you. We hold it all in escrow, and then we pay out at the end of each month. We take a 1.5%. In fact, let me just go back to the pricing. On the middle tier, we do a 1.5% transaction fee. We do a 5% transaction fee on the cheapest one. If you come in through the AppSumo deal, you're coming in on the professional plan, and so you've got the 1.5% transaction fee. Now, the business plan has a 0% transaction fee, but it also gives you the option of linking your own Stripe account. And in the future, we'll have a bunch of other custom carts, hopefully things like Thrive Cart and other things where you can link those and have it go direct to your account. So we will host it for you, if you will. We will keep it contained within the site for that seamless experience, but it won't go through us from a payment standpoint. It will go direct to you. So if you care about that, and understandably a lot of people would, we are making this available only for those who purchase through AppSumo. We're making this plan that is currently available for dollars a month for just $10 a month, but it's only available for the first 7 days after you register. So grab it quickly, because we will not be doing that deal again.
No, you are really incredibly generous. We'll probably come back to that at the end. What about, just quick, I know there's a bunch more questions which are related to very specific things. So I don't think you showed us how to actually set up an actual piece of content, and an event itself, if you like. Okay,
well, we're already in an event. I mean, an event, when you add it for the first time, create an event, give it a title, company name, a strapline, and the logo. And then that takes you through to this page here. Really, what the main content is the talks and the speakers.
That's what I wanted to use. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, perfect. So let's show you let's just imagine that I've set up in fact, I'll show you how to set up a speaker. So you would add a speaker here, give it a name, last name, email, and a headshot. Those are the 4 mandatory things we do. And the reason we do that is that if you do nothing else with that speaker, if you don't give them a title or a company or social links or bio or anything else, it will still work. It will still function. We can still show them on the site, and people can still book talks against them. And so that's why we do those 4 as mandatory. Once you've added those, though, you can actually invite your speakers to join your system by sending them the login details, and they will then get sent to the speaker dashboard, which you can go in to as well, just to see what they would look at. You've got these partner deals here, which we made available before. We've got their special referral URL, tells them when their talk is coming up next. We even create graphics for them as well, which I'll show you a bit more about in a minute. But just hopefully it's obvious that when we were running a 100 speaker strong conference, it was clear that we weren't going to just beaver away and manually create all these graphics manually. So we built it into the platform, and this generates these automatically, and you've got a bunch of different versions for all the different social platforms, and this becomes a really, really simple way for your speakers to just do a single tweet or a Facebook post and just have something to go with it that gives the audience that they're sharing it with the information they need. When is it? What's it about? Why do I care? Which is really powerful. But they get the ability to update their speaker information, so they can put credentials and bio and Facebook URL, and all that sort of stuff. They can update their talk details, so the description of the talk. They can change the date or title. You can decide, by the way, as the organizer, which of these things you want them to actually be able to change. So you might say they can, is there extra space there? You can say they can change the title, because that's fairly safe, but they definitely can't change the date, because that might change schedules and conflict with things and everything else. So you can turn that off if you want to. I'm just showing you that here as a default, just to show you that everything that they can do. And they can set up their freebies, their exclusive offers, their prize draws, all completely optional. As I said, going back to this page here, the system will perfectly function with just these 4 things. The rest we do encourage. It makes it look better on the front end, but you don't have to. So let me just show you a talk, because there's something quite important here that's definitely worth highlighting here. Most importantly, because it's a feature that we added about 3 hours ago, which is quite nice. So let's add a talk called 5 Watch Me. Hopefully I'll come up with better talks titles here. So this is a talk. We've got a speaker that we've already added. So let's just do Freddie again, give it a date. And it's going to be specifically at 2:24. Do not.
Very important. Yeah, yes.
Very important. Reject anyone later. We've got the categories that I've selected. This is a big example, but we can link as many as we want. Just again, helps people find the content. It's active by default. Do we want to feature it on the homepage? Let's just imagine that we do. And that's now created the talk. Now, that's the basics. There is obviously going to be more that you need to do for your talk. And it tells you what the next action is that you need to do here, which is configure your video settings. Now, before I do that, I'm just going to give it a quick description, which is, just hello, watch me. Now, once you've added, so we have a little button here that will show you largely the very next thing that we need you to do. So I've added my content. It now recognizes that. And the next thing I can do is the video settings. And this is the new thing that we added just a few hours ago. We've now got a third way of adding, for those that already know the platform a teeny bit, there are 3 ways you can now add video content. Remember, just in case this is lost in translation here, a talk basically is video content in some form. It's either going to be live content like this Big Marker webinar that you're watching now, or it's going to be pre-recorded. And then we've got this new one, which we added a few hours ago, which is kind of sits somewhere in the middle. So let's just have a quick look at what each of those means. A live webinar is one where you use one of our existing integrations. So you can set up your hosts. So we have a Zoom host here and a Big Marker one. I'll show you those integrations in a minute. In fact, let me just show you that very quickly because that will look a little bit more obvious. Let's just have a quick look. So let's go one step up. I've added my hosts. A host is basically someone who is hosting a talk. So in this example, Nathan is the host. It's his Big Marker account. He is hosting me. He's presenting and introducing me. But crucially, it's his Big Marker account. So if you're doing a live webinar for a talk, then you will need to know and work out who that account is going to belong to. Who is the person that's going to own that particular integration? And so I've created my imaginatively called host test Zoom and host test Big Marker account here. I can go into integrations and it will then list for me the hosts that I've now set up. So I've got test host Zoom and test host Big Marker. I know I should probably give them proper names, but it's just a demo. And I can now decide for this particular host whether this host is going to be presenting them on Big Marker or on Zoom. This is just at the account level. We haven't linked them to a talk yet. We're just going to say this host sits with Big Marker. And so I can click on Big Marker and I can enter the API key and enter the channel. With Zoom, it's a slightly different process. We give you a bit of guidance first, and then if you're happy with that, then you click next, and well, it would send you. I've already logged into Zoom, so it would actually take you to Zoom. You would log in, and then it would connect it up. And the reason we do that is because that then means that we can keep these things completely in sync. So let's go back to what I was actually just showing you, which was setting up the video for this talk. So let's have a look at the video settings here. I want to do it live as a webinar. I've got my Big Marker host, and that is it. Now the server is now going to create a live webinar on that Big Marker account for that talk. It's going to sync the speaker, the name, the title, the date. It's going to add the speaker as a presenter. It's going to add you, obviously, as the host. And it's going to also turn off some of the things. It's going to put some default settings in there as well. So it's going to turn off the reminder emails, the speaker emails, the attendee emails, because that is all handled through HeySummit. We do all of that automatically. It's just an absolute breeze. And that just happens without you doing anything. If I refresh in a second, you'll see that actually has created it, and it will give me a nice little URL for it. And so that's the encouraged way to do it if you want to present the talk live. And we're going to be adding more and more integrations in the future. We work today with Zoom and Big Marker, but we will be adding Demio and other ones like that as well. Once their APIs are sufficient, many of them already are, and it's just a case of us needing to book it in. But it's possible that you might not want to use one of our existing integrations, possibly because we don't have the integration yet, or you just don't want to. And that's fine. You can do a custom stream. And this is literally just as a stop, this is to give you infinite possibilities, really. And also just to serve as a stopgap whilst we build out other integrations. So let's imagine that you do have a Demio account, and that's just the one that you want to use. Now you can set up the webinar in Demio and then enter the URL in here. So let's just pretend it's Google, and that's it. We will now send people to that URL in the future when that talk takes place.
Oh, I get it.
Now, it's not as clever. Do you get it? Like, it's not as clever as integrating it through one of our integrations, because we won't keep it in sync. And you've got to be in charge of setting up the date and everything else. But that's where we will send people to. And it's great also because you might want to send them to a Skype link or a, funnily enough, I was answering someone's question today on AppSumo board, and someone was asking, what plan do I need for Zoom? And prior to this feature, you would have to have a webinar plan, so one of the paid pro plans on the webinar section. But actually, in theory, you could
just put the Zoom link.
Just put the Zoom link for a free Zoom account that you have. Now, we won't do all the clever stuff that I described.
No automation, but it'll work. Yeah.
Exactly. And which is great. You might also want to send them to a YouTube live page or whatever.
Like a Google Map and a real event.
Yeah, exactly. But this is really a stopgap. Now, this is to give you ultimate flexibility. What we will do soon is we will have different options in this streaming URL section where you will be able to specify whether or not it's something that will be hosted externally, like going to a Demio site or whatever, or whether it's one that will be hosted internally on our talk page. So there will be further advancements here where if it's a live stream, like a Facebook stream or whatever, there will be things that we'll be doing soon that will embed it directly in your HeySummit site. So watch out for that. But that just gives you a really nice way of doing that.
Yeah, when I first opened the app, I confess, I remember thinking, oh, I wish that the webinar platform was linked to the event. I was thinking, why is he chosen to build it in per host? Now I get it, because you can step away. They can use their Zoom account and they can use their Big Marker account, and you don't have to be involved in every single event. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I get it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't want to do them live at all, you can do a pre-recorded. And we have a bunch of different integrations: Wistia, Vimeo, YouTube, VooPlayer, or any other video, which basically lets you do any other video. So let's just show, for example, let me get a sample for, just give me a second, I'm just going to show you how this works. So I'm going to put in a URL here of a video that I want to be as the pre-recorded. So pre-recorded, obviously, is where you are literally pre-recording it. You're doing it before the event happens or before the talk happens, certainly. So it won't be broadcast live, but we will still treat it as if it's a scheduled piece of content. So it's still a talk that takes place at 2 o'clock in the morning, or after, not morning, probably in the afternoon, or whatever time it is you scheduled it for. So your attendees will still get the reminder. They will still get told to head to the page to watch it, and it won't be available until that point. So for all intents and purposes, it is live. Or it is scheduled live, but we're not purporting for it to be a live streamed thing. It is obviously clearly a pre-recorded video. And so I just want to show you how this works. So let's save that. And you can see, where was that? Yeah, so it's saying now, ready, pre-recorded. I'm just going to change the date to be in the past so I can actually show you what it looks like as if it had already been there. We're still going to do it at 2:24 because
that's important.
I like that.
Significant time.
Very significant. Okay, so now let's look at the event itself, and let's see if I can find that on the replays. What's it called? I forgot what it's called now. 5 reasons why you want to watch me. Okay, where is it? Oh, I had another 5 reasons. 5 ways.
Yeah.
Where is it? What haven't I done? Maybe the date's not kicked in yet. Oh, it's May. What am I doing?
Yes, I didn't spot that, but it is. It's still in the future.
Would be why. Phew, thought we had an issue there. Okay, so now it's April. That would make more sense. Now let's have a look here. There we go. Right at the top, we can watch the replay, and so this is where people would be sent, and this is the video. We can watch it here, and it's straight in there. So you can literally link any of your videos. and that works really well. Now, because this is a demo account, it's not generating the graphic here, but actually, what we do is we auto-generate the holding graphic here based on the talk itself, which is really neat. So let's just show you some of the auto graphics, because we were speaking about those before. We pre-create these graphics, so speaker promo banners. We create, and I think I showed you this in the speaker dashboard a second ago, but we generate these graphics for every single speaker, which is really helpful. So you have quick access to them here, should you need them. But we also create an event-wide one as well, which is a slightly different style. This is auto-generated. Each time this gets regenerated, you'll see a different selection of speakers, which is quite nice. And so we pre-generate that, and this is really great because you have this available to download, optimized for different social networks. It's your information, it's got the date in there and other things, but it's also the default social sharing image. So when someone comes to this page or to the landing page, right, that shares it on Facebook, you don't have to worry about the OG tags or anything else. It's just automatically done. And it's a nice style. It might not be exactly to your style, but it is certainly clean and neat. And we will certainly be adding additional themes in the future. So again, just an example of trying to take away all of the tedium and the complication from you guys when you look to set up these events.
This is rich and deep. It's I remember, I think I put in my AppSumo comment that it's settings within settings, and that's indeed what it is. It's always a shame when you go onto those AppSumo pages and you know that it's capable of so much more than the limited amount of text that will allow. It's amazing, Ben. It's truly amazing. It's wonderful. I'm sure we've just scratched the surface, but do you mind if I steal some time to get some questions out? Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So Connie, I'm just going to read them, if that's all right. Connie says, if I set up a summit and it runs through Big Marker, do I, as the host, have to start each Big Marker talk, or how does that work if I only have a one host plan with Big Marker?
That's fine, because if you have a one host plan, that's only going to be a problem if you intend to have more than one host running them in parallel. If you have, which is the common setup, you'll have a 5-day summit with 5 talks each day, or 2 talks each day, whatever. They're going to be an hour or 2 in between each one. And so you're going to use the same host, the same Big Marker account for all of those talks. And that's perfect. We will create, however many talks that you have set up as individual webinars on your Big Marker account.
Yeah, in Big Marker, the host is a representation of how many things you can do simultaneously. So if you've got one host, you can have, as many events as you like, just one at a time. If you've got 2 hosts, you can have 2 at the same time, and so on. So great. Okay, Hal has asked, if the maximum plan is purchased, can you run summits for clients?
Yes. Yes. I guess the point here is that you can create additional events. Now, it is obviously dependent on the plan that you're on. So the default in AppSumo is 3 events, but if you stack, you can go all the way up to 15. But remember, that's active events. So going back to what I was talking about before, you can always archive one or turn off registrations. And yes, that essentially means that you can create one for a client of yours. And when you're, that management area we were looking at here, this is for a single event. So all of these customizations, you get completely siloed to that particular event. So you can have different branding, different custom domain, which I haven't even showed you yet, different logo, different language, different content, obviously different talks for each client or each event that you set up.
I think probably before we pursue any more questions, I've just put the little AppSumo deal in. Let's just talk about the pricing, because we can see your screen. Are you happy to put the AppSumo page up? And then once you've gone through that, if we can then talk through the additional offer which you're proposing, because the AppSumo deal is great. The sort of bonus which is outside of the AppSumo deal is even better, because it puts plans. There it is. You've all seen AppSumo before. If you click on that,
can I do a little promotion?
Of course.
Because just to be a bit meta, Ben's brands are everywhere. This widget that we've done a partnership with AppSumo, they're using. So I've got another business called Help Shelf, which is what we're looking at here, and this sits on every single all the new deals that they're putting together now.
I've noticed that, and
It's great because just this thing I've just shown you today. This is an announcement. So we can have a look at that and give it a thumbs up, which is really nice. But really what it's about is about getting help content to people that need it. So we can search for, I mean, I'm showing you this also, not just to promote, but for those that are, on this AppSumo deal and you are looking at this page and you're looking at this 322 questions here, I tell you, there are a lot of repeated questions there. A lot of repeated questions. So the whole reason why AppSumo have partnered with us to bring this widget to their site is so that people like you perusing the site, looking for information, can actually just click on here, click search, and search for, let's say active. So we were talking about active events before. What is an active event? So we're adding FAQs throughout this AppSumo deal. As common questions come up, we are clarifying them as FAQs within this help shelf widget that we have here. And it is live in the sense that it auto updates, and it also shows the most popular ranked here as well, based on what people are actually looking at and clicking on. So as well as a link to our roadmap as well, in case you find that helpful. So yeah, I do encourage you, if you are lacking information after this, you should find most of it here.
I missed out on that deal. I'm bummed about that. Ben, I think we could categorize Ben as quite clever with all of these amazing things that you're doing. So yeah, well, clever and overworked. $59 for the single. You get 2,500 attendees. I'm literally reading it off the screen. You can do that yourselves. But I went straight in on the 5 deal, which is AppSumo's new meme, isn't it? You can stack codes automatically on their page, because I wanted the additional attendees. I kind of worked out for myself that I do this stuff quite a lot, so I'm hoping to make some use of it. But I see the value in the smaller purchases as well. So there you go. The variations there basically are on the number of active events and the number of attendees that you can have. And Ben's gone into detail about archiving and what that all means. But then there's an additional offer which you'll receive after you purchase this through AppSumo, which is nothing to do with AppSumo. Do you want to? How are you going to explain that? Just verbally.
With a nice little graphic.
Great.
Easier. So yes, if you sign up through AppSumo, irrespective of whether you stack a code or not, so it's available to anyone who purchases through AppSumo. When you log in, and we'll send you an email about it as well, so don't worry too much. Although, please, as a reminder, and I say this because we are responsible, I hope, with our emails. When you sign up, there's a little box that says, are we allowed to reach out to you with offers and everything else? And you can unsubscribe at any point. But genuinely, if you sign up as an AppSumo customer, we like to do a lot of deals, and we don't do these deals with anyone else. So if you like a good deal, tick that box, because that's the only way that we can let you know about it. So anyway, you have this button here, AppSumo Upgrade, which is exclusive to those on AppSumo. And this is what it is. You get the business plan, which is usually $249 a month for just $10. Now, the actual deal that we're offering is, just to be a bit complicated for a second, the actual offer is 75% off, which is about $62 a month. But we don't really want you to have to take that. And so for the first week that AppSumo is running, you can see we've got 4 days left. You will be able to get that for just $10. And that price is going to increase by $10 each week until it gets to that $62, which is where it will then sit. So, for what you can do within this platform, $62 is nothing for those that are going to be generating revenue from this and using it to build authority and marketing juice and everything else. And so you may well just say, look, I don't need it now. I'm going to wait until I do need it, knowing that I can always take that $62 option, and that's perfectly fine. But if you do want to take advantage of the $10 one, or something slightly closer to that, then you will need to do it in the first 7 days. And it's for obvious reasons. We want to, give you the opportunity. We want everyone to have a fair opportunity, but it's not sustainable for us as a business to offer it for $10 indefinitely. So we have to, unfortunately, time box it. So that's why we're doing it. But it is available to everyone. It's for the first 7 days.
Sorry, you carry on.
And I just want to explain what you get for it, because this is probably hopefully the pricing bit is easy enough to understand. It goes up by $10 each month. It starts off at 10. Simple. Hopefully simple. But the pricing of it, I do just want to explain. So not the pricing, what you get for it, I do just want to explain, because one thing that we've made sure in the way we've structured this is that it doesn't conflict with the stacking options you can get in AppSumo. Because we don't want to, we're trying to work with AppSumo. We're not trying to compete with them or anything else. We want to create a complementary option here, not one that competes with it. And so for that reason, because you get additional attendees and additional hosts and additional events and additional team members, and remove the HeySummit branding with the stacking, that's the stuff that you don't get with this business version. So this is a special business version for AppSumo customers. So the way to think about it is that you get the 0% transaction fees, which a lot of people are clamoring for, but everything else from this quota standpoint, so the team members, the hosts, the attendees, and the active events, is based on whatever you've purchased through AppSumo. So if you've gone for one single one, that's the quota that you get. If you've gone for the double, then those are the ones you get. The rest of the features you absolutely do get. So you get priority support, you get to use your own Stripe account if you want to. As I mentioned before, you get 0% transaction fees. And in the future, we will be adding custom payment cards integrated within things like Thrive Cart, our carts that we're looking into right now. And as soon as they're ready, this is the plan they will be added to. They will be added to the business plan. And crucially, you will get access to all future business plan upgrades. And that is literally everything. There is not a plan above this. So anything that we do in the future, it will be added to this plan.
Just to give that some sort of context, the regular price is $250. Let's call it $250 per month. You're getting the whole year for less than a 50%, roughly 45% of a monthly fee. So it's an incredible deal. And 7 days. Does that 7 days begin upon first purchase? So, for example, in my case, I've probably got about 4 more days to make use
exactly. So we've made it fair. So everyone has 7 days relative to when they purchased.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's do some questions. Sorry, just in the chat. So Leonard, thank you. He said Nathan's made the questions private. I didn't know I'd done that. Is that a thing? There's probably a button somewhere. I hope I can see them all. I suppose that's the intention, isn't it? But you can't see them, so I apologize if I've set something up wrong. Rick Bannerman, do you have any examples of future features that will only be available on the business plan if we get the upgrade? I think you've possibly just answered that. Everything's included ad infinitum. Yeah,
but a good example here is the payment one, which is primarily the reason why we created this offer in the first place, because people wanted more flexibility. And it gives you a good example of where or how we would decide whether or not something would go in the professional plan, which is the default AppSumo one, or the business one. So currently, if we look at Stripe, we have a hosted version that we do within the site itself, and that goes to our account and everything else. That's on the professional. With the business, we want to make it available so that you can use your own account and drop in your own carts and everything else. And so because that's much more customized to your business setup, that immediately goes into the business plan, and so you'll end up getting things like that. But generally speaking, the majority will still go in the professional plan. It's just the real sort of pro features, if you will go into the business. So things like dedicated APIs and more specific integrations might go into the business. Things like Zapier will go into the professional. The more generic solutions, if you will go into professional, and we're going to be putting a lot of stuff into the professional. So don't think for a second that you only get value from this product if you upgrade to the $10. It's not the case. So I promise you, we genuinely want to cultivate and work with you guys and build a community of people that are just getting a ton of value from this. So the majority,
as they say in the UK, it's the full Monty. It is the full Monty. Right. Okay. Here we go. Let's keep going. I've got about 15 more minutes before I have to go. Otherwise, my son is going to be standing in a playground looking forlorn. So I'll rip.
I thought you were going to say he was going to step in for you and take over hosting.
Yeah, no, he's only tiny. Are the menu items editable? Asks. I want to say Shade. Probably I've pronounced that incorrectly, but it's spelled SHADE. Sorry. Are the menu items editable?
Yes and no. So you can not yet edit the top level menus, but we will obviously let you do that very soon. Obviously you're going to want to add your own things there. There will be standard ones that we will include, of course, but you'll be able to change the language of them. In fact, you can already change the language. You can change it from categories to topics. You can change it from speakers to trainers, etc., etc. But you can't yet add your own to that. In the footer, you can, so that's the yes portion of this answer, you can add columns here in the admin area and add your extra things there. So if this was, this is a sub-site on your business, obviously you might want to link to your other sites there. So let me just show you a quick example of one we're doing with Missing Letter, which is an evergreen series. We've got a little banner up here which you can add, which is just encouraging people to register to become a speaker for us. We've got our graphics and everything else, and then we've got an extra, very, very sparse, but we've added an extra column here linking out to our Missing Letter site for people who just want to learn a bit more about Missing Letter. So you do have the ability down there, but you don't at the top yet.
Okay, Fred asks, can we change the color of the platform and email templates to match the branding of our own company?
No, but in about 2 days, you will be able to.
Oh, well, that's a yes. Fred, hold the thought for 2 days. That's not long. Marilyn asks, and the archive. Oh, so this I presume is going back to the question she asked before. And the archive events, would the link still work if you sent it to new people, like I've been sending the link to my uppercase talk?
Not if you've archived it. If you have, let's just, remember, let's just look at this quickly. When you go into event setup and settings, there is a button here, archive this event or this conference, whatever you've called it, and it tells you what will happen. If you archive it, you are making it not available anymore to the public, even if they've been given access. If I archive this now and go to the landing page here, it will tell me this event cannot be found. It looks like it's been archived, or something to that effect. So just bear that in mind. That keep it open if you need it open, and keep it closed if you don't want it open.
Can you interact with sort of, let's say, CSV files? Can you export CSV files of attendees and stuff if it's archived? Or that's still available.
Yeah. So actually, it's a good point. Actually, if it's archived, you still get full access to this dashboard, so that never disappears. So this button changes to an unarchived button, so you can bring it back from the dead. So we don't delete anything. We may in the future send you emails if it's been archived for more than a year. We might say, look, if you don't choose if you want to keep this data or not. But for now, we have no plans to do that. So yes, you can access it's reporting. Where's it going? We can go to attendees and we can export. So pretty much every list that we provide here. We go to the talks, for example, we've got a list we can export. Almost every list has an export button, sends it out as a CSV. We obviously are going to be adding deeper integrations. Zapier, I mentioned before, but also, specific integrations to CRMs and other things to really create better inflow and also outflow of content. But just as a stopgap, we have an export button. So at least you're in relative control of your data.
Okay, thank you. So Zapier's coming first. Right, Connie, does the system allow to send SMS reminders of events or speakers as time approaches?
Sorry, ask me that one again. I was just reading a quick question.
No, it's okay. Does the system allow, basically, can you alert people via SMS?
Not yet, no. But this is something that we do want to add, including Facebook Messenger and other bots and other things like that. Because, at the end of the day, our job as the platform owner, if you will, is to help you increase the chances that people will actually turn up and will actually watch your content and that they have a great experience once they're there. But before we even get them there, we want to help them get there. And so, today we send out emails, but don't be surprised if in the near future we give you options to send SMSs just to trigger a Facebook Messenger message and all these sorts of things to really just increase the chances that people go, oh, I'd forgotten about that. I'll turn up in half an hour.
Sade, I don't know how to say it now. It's Sade. Is the affiliate program for the general public or for your speakers or both? Good question. I like that.
Both. So you can, I would love for anyone who's watching this to say yes to this. You can become an affiliate of the HeySummit platform. Hopefully you've seen how powerful it is. And if you think there are people in your lists and your community that would benefit from it, then we pay out a 30% reoccurring payment. So for the duration that your referrals are paying us, you will get 30% every single month. But you can do the same thing with your speakers for your events. So you can, there's different layers to it, if you will.
Sade, got it. I nailed it. Got the question. I said the name right. Yay. Right. So Sunita says, what exactly is a host? How is it different from a team member or account owner?
So an account owner is you. You are the one who is in charge of billing and everything else. A team member is someone that you can individually give access to specific events. So if someone was talking about client agency set up before, you might want to give your client a login to the system, but only to the event that they belong to. And so you can do that. You can either specify whether they can create an event or add or delete an event. So basically they are there to log in and manage the event or events along with you. A host, on the other hand, is someone that specifically is in the system in order to be the host for a live talk. So going back to the example that we gave before, Nathan in this example is the host. So if we were managing this through HeySummit, I would add him as the host because it's his BigMarker account that is being used to present and deliver this particular talk. And it's his account that I would want to connect to his host account. So I hope that
the way that I'm going to approach mine, I think, is because I'm just so controlling. I'm going to just be the host for everything, just because that works for me. So that kind of obviates that problem. If you're going to be there, you could simply link your account and do it all. But it's a nifty feature doing it per host. Yeah.
That's a good point. I wouldn't, although you could, if you wanted to, invite each of your speakers as hosts as well and have them connect their own BigMarker accounts or Zoom accounts. I really wouldn't recommend that. For one, unless you do the stacking where you get unlimited hosts, you are limited to the number of hosts. So if you had a 10 speaker summit, you don't by default get 10 slots for hosts. But also, if you're giving that to the speakers to connect, you're waiting for them to connect their own BigMarker account. You can't do that for them. But if they delete a webinar that we create for them manually because they didn't know what it was, because they weren't expecting it to be added for them, you could really muck up things. So
yes, good.
You know, you need to
stumbled across the right solution by pure chance.
Yes, definitely. You would be
great.
It's your account. You would do it. The only reason why you would have a second host, in my opinion, is if you had two people presenting at the same time, and then you would have your team member be the second host.
Right, I've got about 5 more minutes, so I'm going to race through these. By the way, if I failed to answer any of these questions, you'll notice that there's a private tab that Ben has. You could tag him with the same question if I fail to get it answered. And I don't know what happens with BigMarker. Yeah, probably not. Maybe get rid of that off your screen if there's something going through, Ben, that's private. I don't know. If we use our own payment processors such as Thrivecart in the future, does that mean that we can't take advantage of the built-in affiliate program in HeySummit?
So this depends. We are still in the early stages of deciding and working out the best way to integrate custom carts like that. Obviously, what we're aiming for is a situation where we create a deeper integration with a cart like Thrivecart so that it's kind of seamless for the attendee and for those purchasing an all access pass. They would just see the opportunity to buy. You've set up, because you've chosen the Thrivecart option, that's how they would pay, but it would all be completely embedded within the HeySummit platform. And therefore, hopefully we'll have a better, more powerful way of handling the payouts through the affiliates and everything else. That's what we're targeting and aiming for. But for obvious reasons, individual integrations will probably have slightly different ways that they are handled because of the way that those particular integrations work. So that's just a long way of saying you'll have to wait, unfortunately.
Wait and see
about each one.
I promised Tracy did a webinar with Ben last night, and I promised Tracy that I would put this offer out for her. So I'm going to do it quickly because it does actually marry up to a question that I'm about to talk about. Hal has said, are there any plans to integrate Webinar Ninja and Webinar Jam? Before you answer that, Ben, this is very quickly, the offer that's just popped up is a lifetime deal offer on the platform that you're using at the moment, BigMarker. Despite the technical hitch, which you'll all get an email about, by the way, to say that this didn't. I've had nothing but good experiences with this platform. I am in no way affiliated. This does not get me any. I just like it. It's a good system. It has been reliable, except for this one weirdy thing that happened today. It's on a lifetime deal. You can stack it. You can pay significantly more than that and get loads of attendees. But there's the price. I'm just throwing that out there. I promised Tracy that I would. It's great. And it's what you're using at the moment. So if it's been seamless today, it's worth doing. So back to Ben, Webinar Ninja, Webinar Jam.
Yeah, it's not only a great software, by the way, it's an amazing team. We're doing a lot of really great integrations with them, and we're going to see a lot more deeper integrations. So if you already use BigMarker, you might want to jump on this because we are working really closely with BigMarker and creating some really powerful integrations with them that won't be available to anyone else doing integrations. They're creating private APIs for us and lots of other things that will let us do things beyond what you're able to do today. Yeah.
It's totally solid. It's browser-based. You don't need to download anything. And the integrations mean that it creates all the events. It scrubs emails that should never go out. Good. Their API is extensive, and Ben's obviously had a right old rumble got into that. So there we go. That would be it's money well spent, I think, if you're going to be serious about this. Will the AppSumo deal as you add them? Can I just say yes to that?
Sorry, that you
AppSumo deal. Will the AppSumo get the upgrades and the features as they're added over time? I just hit myself in the head.
You kept on breaking up though. Audio was cutting out. You were saying, will the upgrades what?
AppSumo, will the AppSumo people get the upgrades, upgrades as you improve the platform?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah. So you are, with the default AppSumo plan, if you don't take the business upgrade, you are coming in at the professional tier, so the middle tier. So, obviously I can't tell you exactly what you're going to get or what we'll be releasing on the professional tier in 6 months' time, but we have one of 3 places to put them in. So if we come up with a new feature, it's either going to go in the lower tier, the middle tier, or the higher tier. Most of the time, they're going to start off in the middle tier, which is what you're on. Occasionally, they will go on the highest tier, and everything else, they will start off on the lowest tier, which therefore you will get. So almost 90% of the time, you are going to get the new stuff that we deliver.
Okay, great. That's good to know. I am going to have to knock it on the head. What I might do quickly before I jump out of here is literally copy and paste the contents of this Q&A section over to TextEdit so that I've actually got it. And then I can forward it to Ben. Now, the problem I have is that I don't have a copy of your email addresses available. So what I'll probably do is deal with it in the Facebook group. I'm really sorry we ran out of time. I just, normal life getting in the way. I've got to knock it on the head at 3, otherwise I'll get in trouble.
I know that one.
yeah. So thank you. Ben, I'm going to just quickly click stop record on this. And
cool. Well,
thank you so much for everybody.